Warning. This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and welcome to the week. Welcome to Monday. I have got some interesting stuff to show you today, and this week is going to be pretty wild because this week is CPI week, and if that thing comes in cold, then the market I don't think is ready for that. I still think the market believes in sticky inflation. I still think that we've got one of the biggest mispricings of potential rate cuts that we've had in a very, very, very long time. Under the hood, the setup actually looks better than most people are aware of. So I'm going to show you all of that. Strap in. Actually, before we get going, I appeared on the What podcast yesterday, so you can go and see that if you want to. I'll put a link at the end of the video with me and CPM. We talked about gold, we talked about Bitcoin, and then we took it to a kind of spiritual place towards the end. So I'll link that at the end of the video for you guys. In amongst the sea of narrative last week, the German government allegedly being behind this big Bitcoin dump, we then see this come out. Okay, Germany surprised $111 million Bitcoin buyback. So pretty hilarious, right? It's pretty hilarious. However, it's not quite as black and white as it first seems. When you dig into this a little bit more, I don't think they actually bought the Bitcoin back, so to speak. I think what has really happened is they couldn't sell all of the Bitcoin they had, so they transferred it back to the original cold storage wallet, and that was interpreted as them buying Bitcoin. But say they had, I don't know, just 1,000 Bitcoin, right? They transferred 1,000 to an exchange. They could only sell 500, and then they transferred the other 500 back. So that was interpreted as them buying it back, but I don't actually think that's the case. Either way, the point is, it is still funny because games are going to get played. We are right in that neighborhood for both a daily and a weekly cycle low. And as we know, particularly if you're part of the Camel Crew, those cycle lows serve to flush and reset sentiment. And of course, as I say, every time we get one, every dip has its narrative. This is the current narrative for this dip, and it too shall pass. I like this from James here. He says, this week, no one mentioned the German government selling Bitcoin. The average spot trading volume was about $6 billion a day. And in aggregate, the German government has only sold around 85 million a day. So everyone loves a narrative. And as I just said, every dip has its narrative. The pain shall soon pass as always. I think this is the real reason behind the dip, besides the cycle low, which of course cycle lows have got to show up. That's part of the code of the universe, it seems. But a huge Bitcoin miner capitulation has been going on. And this actually makes perfect sense, right? Post-halving, we slashed the block reward in half. If you're not an efficient miner, or if you're over-leveraged, which many of them are, and price doesn't go immediately up, then the least efficient, most over-leveraged miners with the highest overheads, they are forced to capitulate, right? Many of them are forced to close down. Many of them are forced to hand their hash rate over to the more efficient miners. And this is just part of the process, right? We see this all the time after halvings, and then things are okay for a while. Then we enter a bear market, and at the bottom of that bear market, you'll see the exact same thing, okay? The least efficient miners are flushed out of the system. They're forced to go bankrupt. They're forced to close down. And part of that process is to liquidate all of their assets, which of course for a miner is plenty of Bitcoin. You can see here, these are the last bear market lows. And of course, that makes sense, right? When the price has dropped 80% from its all-time high, if you're not a highly efficient miner, you are forced to close down, you are forced to sell your Bitcoin, and you are forced to move on to a new venture. And that is why we see this big miner capitulation. That's what we've got here as well. Again, it makes sense because we've just slashed the block reward in half and price is down around 20%. I don't really think it's the 20% price decline that is behind the miner capitulation. I think it's literally the fact that we slashed the block reward in half, doubling the average price to mine a Bitcoin. But just like this minor capitulation, okay, this one too shall pass. And of course, when it does, this is a huge amount of sell-side pressure that will be removed from the market. As you know, one of my favorite memes in this space is, of course, the Bitcoin Dalai Lama meme, where we get this Greek letter mu pattern play out, which is essentially a liquidation cascade and a recovery off to new higher prices. Now, originally, the first one of these seems to have failed, right? We got that Dalai Lama and it failed by undercutting that low. The question is, will the second one hold? We're going to find out this week. And an even bigger question for me is, has this just started? Which I believe it has. And the reason I'm so confident in saying that is, number one, we've got a daily and weekly cycle low behind us. Not just a daily, but a full weekly cycle behind us. Number two, as you're going to see when we get to the charts, we are actually still holding on to this second angle, depending on which exchange you use. And we've got CPI coming in this week, and I honestly think we're going to see another cold print. I don't think the market's ready for that. I think that is also going to see us undergo a massive rate cut probability repricing. And I still think the markets are going to continue to front run the onset of that cutting cycle, because these cuts will not be cuts into normalization. They will be cuts because something has broken. So don't discount this just yet, okay? By all means, be bearish. By all means, be short. By all means, disagree with me. But don't discount this just yet. At least I am not. And part of the reason I say this is because if you know, you know. And if you don't know, copper divided by gold, okay, as shown here by Rickus, starting to move to the upside. This is something we see synonymous with risk on moments. When people are opting for the safe haven gold over copper, it speaks to both economic detraction and a flight to safety. But we have the inverse right now. And take a look at this, Rickus's crazy ticker, okay, which is the copper divided by gold times by the Chinese bond liquidity and divided by the dollar index. What do you notice down here at the hard right edge? Okay, starting to tick bullish, potentially about to enter an uptrend. And of course, if that happens, we should expect this to occur. At least that's what happened here with this. It's also what happened here with this. So couple that with the fact we got a fresh daily and weekly cycle behind us, and we may be about to see a shockingly cold CPI print. Again, I'm here to say, just don't discount any possibility as of yet. Not to mention, okay, there are 400 million of Bitcoin shorts liquidations sat at around 59k, okay? Look at this heat map. The yellow denotes pockets of high amounts of volume for liquidations. So the path of most pain here is up. As you can see, there's way more deep, dense yellow periods above than there is below. And of course, as we start to liquidate these, they are forced buyers because they are short currently. Forced buying drives the price higher, and we get this cascade effect to the upside. We also have plenty of space overhead, as you're about to see in the next few slides, okay? Naba says, repeat after me, the crypto top is not in. And this time we're going to eliminate those who are calling for the end of this bull market. This is, or was, just a corrective macro wave 4, and the macro 5 is next. So as you can see at the top here with the RSI, okay, these conditions, and these conditions have not yet been replicated, have not yet been seen in today's price action, telling us there is more space above for us to continue to move higher into that fifth wave. Keeping in with this theme of having more space to the upside, okay? This is the MVRV Z score, and you can see top here for Bitcoin, touch the red zone. Same here all the way through the red zone, denotes local tops. Same here, denotes local tops. Same here, denotes a local top. And what have we got at the hard right edge? If I move my pen thing out the way, okay, we are nowhere near the red zone. We're nowhere even near halfway up. So again, it speaks to having much more space. Let me move this out the way. Much more space for this thing to move higher, and therefore to see that fifth wave come in for Bitcoin. Tech Dev here showing us we got the quarterly Fisher transform breaking above the zero rate, okay, like here, just like it did back here, and of course thereafter very good things happened to the price of Bitcoin. Will this time be different? I personally doubt it. Note that this setup only sends Bitcoin on its steepest parabolic runs. And again, keeping in with this theme of having more space above to run, take a look at the setup at the left-hand side, okay? No way near reaching euphoria yet, and that is because the euphoria-driven parabolic blow-off top is missing, okay? Note this and this from the move into euphoria. Today, we don't have anything similar. This is typically not how markets top, and thus I still think the path of most pain is to upset everyone that just panic sold and started calling tops. Meanwhile, okay, this is another reason I think that we are going to see rate cuts show up sooner rather than later. The US full-time employment, okay, is in recession territory. Take a look at this, okay? We are in recession territory now, so the Fed is likely going to have to cut, and all it really needs is a cold CPI print this week to be able to punch his fists in the air and say, ha, we did it, okay? We're in control, we tamed inflation. That's all they really need is a cold print. There's no better time to see one. I think they're looking for an excuse to cut rates, but of course, having stood there for the past couple of years and said, we're not going to cut prematurely, we need to tame inflation, we don't want to risk cutting too soon, right? This would be the perfect time to say, okay, we need a cut because employment is messed up, and all they need to see now is continuation of disinflation, which I am speculating we are going to see this week. So a wild time to be alive. Something else that is of note here, okay, is recessions usually in the US come within 18 months from the last Fed rate hike. It's now been 12 full months since the last Fed hike in July 2023. So historically speaking, we should be expecting a recession sometime in the next 6 months. Okay, if history is any guide, the US economy should fall into a recession before the end of this year or is already in. So again, all of these people that keep saying, Camel, no way you're going to get this early top. All of these people that keep saying, no way, like Raul Paul is right, liquidity's up forever. okay? End of next year, Bitcoin's going to do what it's always done, okay? The data, the macro backdrop is not on your side to make those kind of arguments. Of course, I could be wrong. Of course, I'm open to being proven wrong. But with every month that goes past, it seems like we are getting closer and closer to seeing those rate cuts and seeing something break. Of course, not a great deal has changed in the charts since the weekend. Dollar still kind of roughly trending up. The yields are something we're going to need to watch this week, okay? Again, it's going to be tell that to the bond market, particularly if we get lower CPI and perhaps some dovish speak from some of the Fed officials. Are we going to see these yields continue to call the Fed bluff, continue to price in the oncoming rate cuts way sooner than most people are anticipating? Are we going to see this 2-year yield continue to move lower? Okay, because by the time we get to around the 4.4 level, that is based on historical data, the bond market telling us rate cuts are coming immediately. I am also keenly keeping an eye to see if we can hold this cycle low, both the daily and the weekly cycle low for Bitcoin. You can see on the Bitstamp chart, okay, we have lost the second angle. But something I was going over with the members in the members video of the weekend, okay, was if we use the Bitfinex chart, okay, you can see we're just about, barely, but we are indeed clinging onto it, okay? We haven't yet broken it down. So of course, you get variance and bigger or smaller wicks depending on the liquidity that is sitting in the order book between different exchanges. But for Bitfinex, okay, second angle is intact. Okay, that's just a piece of data. As I said earlier, the chart I usually use, which is the Bitstamp one, we have indeed lost the second angle. But right here, right now, seems like not a great time to be selling. If we do see a counter trend bounce and a rollover further, losing these cycle lows, then I think we have to entertain much lower numbers. Then I think I even have to start lightening up positions significantly. But if we get a lower CPI print, okay, then again, I am here to say, do not discount the idea of something like this coming out of here, okay? Think about how many people would be completely destroyed by this move, okay? How many people are actually expecting to see lower CPI? How many people think that there's a weekly cycle low about to come swinging out of here? Not that many. And you will be seeing me get long somewhere in this neighborhood if that's the case. I'm also going to add spot to my stack for the first time if we get this setup play out since the bear market lows. This also seems to be being supported by the crypto-related equities, many of them holding up relatively well, showing massive relative strength compared to Bitcoin, which I continue to interpret as a hint that this thing is more bullish than it's leading people to believe. I'm also going to be keenly watching gold this week, okay, because gold in theory has broken out, but the weekly cycle low is down for another week or so. The weekly cycle low says it's risky to be long here. So my dream setup is to see something like this, okay, get in on a weekly cycle low swing. That's where I want to get the members in as well to the minor positions and a couple of individual mining stocks and a bit of silver. But I am eagerly watching this for invalidation in case we break above the prior high, which is why I got this blue box drawn in. It's a horribly messy chart. I will be cleaning it up in the not too distant future. But this is the big focus for me. Can we get a nice little flush? Can we trap all of these early breakout buyers by finding a weekly cycle low and reversing? And if we can, I think we got that dream set up. And last but not least, okay, the stock market. Look at it go. Look at it go. So expect chop, expect games, expect volatility as always as we go into CPI week. I do think all we need to see is that lower CPI print. And remember, a lot of this move is front running the oncoming cutting cycle. That's a lot of what is driving this move higher. So we get that lower CPI print, we get the market start to reprice, seeing cuts sooner than most are anticipating, and we will likely see something like this, daily cycle low, big parabolic blow off top, and then of course, it's GG's. But one day at a time as always. Going to be a wild week. I'm probably going to go live for CPI because that was a load of fun last time. Other than that, I should be hopefully about to put a link up on the screen somewhere in this neighborhood for the What podcast, so go and click that. And I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you're doing well in life. Until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.
Let's rationalize rapid shoplifting, make skin color a perk. Blocking all streets for climate change, people can't get to work. Endorse mostly peaceful protest.